Hey peeps, so we are back with the last video on the home buying series. So once again, I'm here with my sister Angel, and she just bought her first house. So we are going to be talking about the closing process for this video. So definitely go ahead and subscribe and share the video if you're here already. And we're going to go ahead and get into the last parts of buying the house.
Okay, the last part is the closing. So at this point, you've had the inspection on the house. If there's anything that needs to be remedied, so the remedies are when you notice something's wrong or something's not done in the house, and you ask the seller to fix those before you actually go to closing. So once I got to closing, there were, I think sometimes the only slowdown that I had was, I think, for the seller fitting it into his schedule. So there was some, there was a few things where he owns a business, and he owns a larger business of where he rents out properties and that sort of thing. And then the house was, I think, in his name and not in his company's name or something like that. So when they went to do the paperwork, in some places it had his name, sometimes it had his company's name. And so that like literally delayed our signing and closing for a whole, I think, week. So it was delayed. And once they had that straightened out, they contacted me with a day that they could do the closing. And so I just said as long as it's around a certain time, I should be able to make it. And I think I left work early or something like that so I could do the closing. And you get there are a ton of papers that you need to sign, but it's not as bad as I know. I know I've watched certain like real estate shows, like, you know, where people are buying their first home or something, and it seems like it takes them forever to sign. It didn't go that slow when I did it. The only thing that you need to do before the closing is make sure that you have I do believe it's a cashier's check for the closing cost, and make sure you verify what the amount is supposed to be.
You also verify how they're wanting you to pay. So you might not need a cashier's check. So just make sure that you know how they want you to close on the house. Because working at the bank, that was something that I like told her to like make sure you know how they want the money. Because I've had situations where I was working at the bank and somebody would call from a different state, and they used to live in Ohio, but they're moving to a different state, and they didn't realize, for whatever reason in their grown-up world, they didn't think as a grown-up I should make sure if this state has a bank that I bank with there. So since it didn't, they would call the call center and say, oh, I need money wired. They would be staying in a hotel or something about to close on their house, and then they would say, well, I need it to be wired. Well, a wire doesn't happen overnight, so I guess you're not closing on your house. Wow. So make sure you know how the person wants the money in the first place.
Well, I think here, at least in Ohio, it's typically like a cashier's check, and you just go to your bank, or I mean, you go to a check cashing place, but it's a few $1,000s, so I don't.
Or they may have needed it wired simply because there wasn't a bank there. Oh. So the only way to get the money probably was through a wire. I mean, I'm assuming he just didn't have. Either he didn't have any checks on them, or they didn't want to accept the check and they wanted a wire. But it's probably maybe just because he didn't have the bank there. I don't know.
Well, I don't think that they will typically take a personal check, because what if something crazy? I mean, and based off the class I took, that there are people who really there are people that do weird stuff, you know. Everything's fine, and then they may do something with their money and then write a check and let it, and it'll actually bounce like when you're closing on your house. So I don't think that, at least in Ohio, they let you do a personal check. So just make sure you verify the amount and the payment method, and make sure you get that for them. And to close, it was a little under $4,000, and I think that's because there were taxes due, and so they needed that money in escrow to pay the taxes that were coming due. So when you get there, I think there's, I know I had my driver's license. I don't think I need any other identification when I came, but I do believe I have my driver's license. Before you can close on the house, you do need to have insurance set up. And that's, so I had homeowners insurance. I'd always had apartment insurance. And so I just called the company. They do tell you to get quotes from different places, and I did, and it ended up who I was already with was the better quote. So I went ahead and stayed with the same company and just got homeowners insurance. And you do need to, and you like, they will actually contact your insurance agent to make sure that it is set up, so that they deal with each other and you just provide that information. And they'll let you know the time and where, and you meet at that place. And for mine, usually you go to the company that does the closing, but we met at the office for the person selling the home, and I said that was fine. I didn't have a problem with that. If you have an issue with that, you just let them know, you know. And so we got there was a bunch of papers to sign. I signed the papers. I gave them the cashier's check for the closing costs. Then, you know, I think there was, you know, times where they made sure I understood everything. The person who is doing the closing for you, they will be explaining some of the paperwork as you're signing it, making sure you sign in the right place, all that. So that's what's going on. I don't think it took an hour, to be honest.
So did you read the papers there? Did you have the papers ahead of time to read them?
There is certain paperwork that you get ahead of time, and I'll have to give you the name of it, and I guess you'll put it in the comments. There's paperwork that you receive ahead of time, and it basically tells you what your payment's going to be, and it tells you the breakdown of any grants that you're going to receive and how that'll be applied, how your down payment will be applied if you have to make a down payment. It gives you all the information, and then it tells you exactly what your monthly payment will be and the actual mortgage will be. That's the only paperwork that you'll receive beforehand. And so I received that. You check that, and I do believe you get that like 3 days ahead, and you check it. If everything's okay, then you'll proceed to the closing. Once you're at the closing, you sign all the paperwork, provide any information that they, like your driver's license or ID card, you provide that. And then once it's done, how you know everything's done is that the money that will be paid to the person selling the house, if they're going to get anything, and your realtor, everybody gets their checks. And you're just in there like, okay, where's my keys? And then they give you your keys. And so that was pretty cool.
Like days later though?
No, at the closing. It happens right there at the closing. And so once they give you the keys, you're free to go. And I think the day that I did the closing, I had to watch my nephew. And I think I came over to, I think I went over to the house. And just to make sure that the keys worked, to be honest. Just to make sure everything was fine, because we were supposed to move in. Was it like that weekend or something? I moved all my stuff in. So it is not as long as you have all of your paperwork together, you can move fairly fast. If all your finances are together, this can be a fast process. And the thing is it behooves you, if that's the house that you want or something like that, to make sure that everything is in order. And the one thing I thought about too is, so that you do not prevent an issue with your closing, do not repeat. Do not make any large purchases on credit cards or purchases just in general leading up to purchasing the home. There are people who do this. They warned us in all of the home buying classes I took that one of the things that will mess up your purchase, because it affects your credit score, is there are people who need, I need a washer and dryer. Oh my gosh, I'm moving into my dream home. I'm gonna buy top of the line everything for my new kitchen. Okay, do that. And you know what people do? They use their credit card for that. And then it totally will throw everything off. And your credit score, also the fact that everything's changed. So what they thought were your balances on your credit cards has now changed. So they're gonna run your information one last time before you close. And then look, you've changed everything. So I stopped using I didn't use my credit card for anything. It was straight cash. And the thing is, like, I only use my credit card for certain types of purchases, and knowing that I would pay it right off. But even knowing that, I stopped. I like completely buckled down. And even sometimes, like, if I can't find my debit card, I might use my credit card or something. I made sure not to do that because I did not want to throw off my ability to purchase the house. And the funniest thing is, right before we found the house, I actually made a purchase on another credit card, and I was like, oh crap, because I hadn't used that card for forever, but I was trying to take advantage of a sale, and I used the credit card, and I was like, oh man, I wish I hadn't done that, because I didn't know if it would throw anything off. But that is the advice that I would give. It's something that a lot of people may not realize, and then you might lose out on a home, or you might have to delay the process. So then it'll start all over, and you'll have to provide all the information that you provided before, like bank statements and all of that. You'll have to provide up-to-date information. So
I don't know if you exactly how to do this, but another thing that I was telling my sister, and I think sometimes it has to do with when people like have just recently paid off their credit card or recently made a purchase or something like that, is you have to call your credit card companies. And a lot of people, when they call in, because I worked at a call center, a lot of people will call in and they'll be really frantic and be asking you for their balances, and they keep saying, I need it ASAP, I need it now, can you send it now. And it's like, okay, well, nothing happens now, so I don't know what you want. But then if you know your job, like the people at the call center should be able to say, like, whenever people will call frantic like that and talk about, I need to know my balances and all this now, I'll be like, are you buying a home? And then they're like, yeah. And then I say, okay, let me get you over to our credit reporting department so you can get a rush loan letter. So that's what it's called. So you could just say to the people at the call center, I need a rush loan letter. So then they'll get you over to the credit reporting department, and then that's how you can get that rushed out to you. But I mean, it's still not going to be like instant. Like, there's no, I don't know if they're able to fax it or not in the credit department because I didn't work there, but they always call it rush loan letters. So I was assuming that they just like 24-hour FedExed it to you or something. But yeah, so did you have to call, or was it just you showed them the statements?
Yeah, everything that I provided, so all my bank statements, I got those online through my bank, and I saved them as PDFs. And then I was able to print everything together, and then I faxed it to the loan officer. Then, so when she was saying that, I just found that interesting because they accepted everything just online, everything that I could just access easily through my online banking is what I provided. So I thought that was interesting.
But also, I mean, it was all people of all ages, but there may have been different reasons, like especially if it's somebody older. Like, literally would have people older call the call center and they just refused to use the computers. They had computers, they own computers, some of them own Apple products, they refused.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, well then you're deciding to waste your own time, but whatever. I mean, doing it online is absolutely the fastest way to do everything in the world.
Now, I will say the one thing I was having an issue. If they're doing everything online and they want you to email certain things, just make sure that you can email like documents that large, because at a certain point it does become a very large document. I wasn't able to email them the information because it had personal information, like socials and stuff like that, and the computer I was using wouldn't let me send it. Make sure that you have like a fax number for them ahead of time. That makes it, just in case for some reason an email won't go, you can also fax it to them, because that's what I ended up having to do, and then they were able to receive it. And I didn't mind going. They have a sort of an app that they, all the paperwork that they had, I saw through an app, and they gave me like a password or something like that, and I would just go in and I could see documents and I could sign through like my phone, and send it back to them. So that, the only thing I had to sign in person were the closing documents, and then there was something that you have to do like a little bit before then. There was like some type of I think it's the part where they showed you what the paperwork, where they show you what your mortgage will be, and there's sort of a, like, I don't know, I went sort of like a credit counseling sort of thing that they do with you, and you have to sign that paperwork as well. But that's only 2 times I had to meet in person to sign stuff. And I don't really count like when I had to come to the house for the inspection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So my one question is, what specific things did you ask them to fix in the house?
There was a moisture issue in the basement, but it was caused by the spout from your gutters was too close to the house, and it wasn't taking the water far enough away from the house. So I had them fix that. There were some other small little issues, like, you know, they redid stuff, so like the baseboards and all that type of stuff, some of it wasn't completely finished yet because they had to wait. They had to redo, I have wood floors, so they had to redo the floors, and they were waiting for the stain to dry. Well, because they were waiting for the stain to dry, they hadn't put everything back yet. So they did all that. So there was an issue with the windows. I forget, they call them, I think, slide light windows. I think that's what they call them. And so I have those on either side of my door, and there was a bit of a crack in one, and so I'm not sure how that happened, but they replaced both sides. And originally they made it seem like they were only going to replace the one that was damaged. They ended up actually replacing both of them, and I'm glad that they did. And I had them just do clear glass. They asked me what type of glass I wanted, but I just didn't have time to go see, so I just told them just put in the clear glass. And then I bought a film at Lowe's, and we were able to, a decorative film, so you can't see straight in, and I put that in.
Okay, and also, so you got an inspection. Are there any other things like an inspection that you did? Can you tell us what an inspection is and at what point that you did the inspection?
So the inspection is to see if there's anything glaringly wrong with the house. Anything that would prevent, if they find something horribly wrong with the house, that could prevent the sale of the house unless they remedy that or fix the issue. You get that done, and that was like, oh my gosh, about 2 weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks after I originally viewed the house. We had the home inspection. The home inspector did see evidence of termites out in the basement, not basement, the garage. And so I had a termite inspection as well based off of the home inspection. But it is very interesting because when they go through, they go into the attic, they test the they test all the water, they test everything. And they're just trying to make sure that there aren't any serious issues with the house.
And there weren't any other things additional that you had other than inspection and the termite people come out?
No, that was it. If say you look at the roof and you think that you think maybe there might be an issue with the roof, you can ask for a roof inspection, and any roofing company in town, wherever you live, will usually do a free estimate if you'd like, and you can also choose to do that if you want to. I didn't do that. They told me, I think that through the home inspection, they'll look at he did go and look at the roof, and he said, it should last me a good, 6 more years. They also look at like your furnace. They replaced my furnace, so I got a newer, not furnace, my water heater is what they replaced. So they put in a newer water heater, and he looked at, the home inspector goes through everything, every room. He checks the windows, he checks to make sure the doors, the windows, all that work. As well as your electricity. You will turn on all the lights in all the rooms to make sure that the breaker doesn't crash. I mean, you want to be able to move in and live in the house. You don't want to have to worry about, oh my gosh, I can't turn on all these lights all at the same time.
Gotcha. So also the other thing I wanted to ask is, as far as paperwork, can you list off all of the paperwork that you did need to have that you had in order?
Oh, okay. So you need all your tax returns. I do believe it's for the past 3 years. You need your bank statements for, I think, the last 3 months, 3 or 4 months. You need your pay stubs for the last 3 or 4 months. Your birth certificate and your driver's license, I do believe, and then possibly your social security card as well.
And that was everything?
I do believe so. Yeah. Oh, if you have a 401k. If you have a 401k, you need the last statement for that. So usually it's quarterly, and I was able to get that online as well.
Okay, so that is everything for the closing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's everything that my sister did to go ahead and close on her house. If you have any questions or you have any additional things to add to what we have said, please comment below. Also, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, because my advice piece on my channel is what's most important to me. So I will definitely be doing more advice pieces, and I already have a financial literacy series that I will be starting back up. There's already 2 videos out. Also, like and share the video with someone who might need the information as well. And if you haven't watched the previous videos, go ahead and do that. And we will see you guys later in the vlogs and future videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.